All right, we're back again for another meditation class on Thursday night. Here we go. Really don't have a topic in mind. A couple of things in mind, but they need to percolate a little more. So who has a question, a topic you'd like to discuss? And we lost somebody. What happened? Yes, sir, Mr. Avalez.
Yes, sir. I read a quote from Bruce Lee talking about words and how they cast spells, and watch what you say because it could becomes true, and the idea of cymatics, how words can have an impact on things. There was a test that this I don't know if he was a doctor or a scientist did, where he spoke to water, and then they took pictures of the water, and like the shape of the water changed depending on the words that were said to it. So obviously language is very powerful. What's your idea on words and the way we use them and the effect that it has on people?
I'm sorry, I hit mute on you by accident. You said words and what now?
And the impact they have on people and even plants. You hear people saying if you speak to plants, they grow better. Whether it's like the carbon dioxide you're exhaling to them, or if it's actually the words that are doing something.
Okay, good. Couple of things come to mind with that. First of all, words, absolutely. You can even think of the Bible, God's word, creation, vibration, intention. The words we say give off our, I don't want to say energy, but our intention. And our intention has meaning and it has effects on things. And yes, whether that's true or not, that was the, I forget his name, but all the different shapes of the water molecules and how hate or negative words would make the water look ugly, and nice words like love and gratitude would make the water sort of smile. It would look brighter and more beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. And the plants, this was an interest many years ago, that The Secret Life of Plants. Anybody read that book? Okay, that is an amazing book, actually. So the story that comes to mind from that book, and when I learned it, it was actually training with Tom Brown Jr. in the Pine Barrens. I believe he told the story and turned me on to the book. But so they connected like a probe that can measure any pulses, I guess, from the plant. Okay, and they had multiple plants, and they lined up a bunch of people to go by the plant, right? And one guy was told, when you get to the plant, you're going to pick it up, tear it up, throw it down on the ground, everything. You're going to destroy the one plant. Now there's multiple plants in the room. Okay, so this is their experiment. See what happens. So they go through normal reading. He does his damage, beats the hell out of the plant. And then they come through again. And now there's another plant. And one by one, they go by, and this thing that was measuring any pulses coming from the plant was normal. But when that guy entered the room, this thing that was measuring went crazy. It was like the plant was screaming. The plant recognized that that guy was in the room and that guy did the damage that he did to the other plant. It's like killing a family member, if you can imagine. And that plant had memory and recognition. I don't know who, nobody here. So one of our retreats a few years ago, was at a place called Blue Deer. And usually on Sundays after retreats, we would have a special presentation related to the place that we were at. And so they had someone come in that was teaching about plants communicating. And this is actually something you can buy online. I mean, it's not cheap, but you can buy it yourself, and you can stick it into what plants, into their plant, the dirt, and you stick it in there, and it will pick up something from the plants. What does it pick up? Well, we observed firsthand plant playing music. The plant actually was able to play music through this technology. So plants can communicate. If you imagine a dog. A dog is always happy wagging its tail when it sees you, right? And it gets sad when you leave. If in some way you had bad thoughts, you were in a bad mood or something, dogs can feel it. They'll react, and they'll cower a little bit. They can feel your we'll say bad energy. Well, there would be times when the woman told us a story that there would be times when the plant wouldn't play music. And she said there was a time when it went on for weeks, it wouldn't play for her. It was like it was angry at her and it was holding a grudge. And I don't remember the reason, I don't remember the details of the story, but I don't want to offend anybody, but this is why I laugh when people say they're vegetarians because they don't want to eat sentient beings. And I can assure you, not from reading books, but from personal experience, that plants too are sentient. You just don't know how to communicate with them. You kill a plant, you take a limb off a tree or something, it absolutely feels pain. And that's just something that people don't realize. So they think because you're limited superficially to some form of face, like a face. So an animal has a face, has two eyes, a nose, and so we relate to that. But a plant doesn't, so we don't relate to that. And this is a superficial understanding of spiritual. Because everything has life, and nothing can live without something else dying. This is the world we live in. These are physical laws, natural laws, and you go against it, you're going to cause problems. That's why today you hear about the fake meat, or a lot of processed foods, or putting these powder mixes and making smoothies out of highly processed powdered foods. All these newfangled things that have been going on for years, and they just keep, it's a big market, huge money being made. So people love buying these things in cans that they just, so easy. But when I teach people nutrition, my rule number one, when I teach them how to eat, my rule number one is eat real food. Food in its most natural state, that was grown most naturally or raised most naturally, like cattle need to graze on live green grass, and plants need to be organically grown, no chemicals, in a rich soil, and picked at the right time, not before they're ripe and then chemically ripened. Fruits, things like that, it has to be natural. It has to grow to its maturity, and then it can be eaten, basically, just like any animal. Like we have a garden, and we left the gate open, and the deer got in there and ate a lot of the lettuce that was being grown. It's natural for them. They know food's available. They go and eat it. So we have to live like that instead of all these artificial, newfangled things that we do. In my firsthand experience, you really don't have to worry about disease, illness, or anything. We all can talk about genetics and things. Well, there's plenty of stuff in my genetics. I haven't had any problem with any of them because I completely changed 30 years ago. I started learning about these natural laws, and I applied them to the best of my ability. And no, I'm not 100% fanatical, but I'm at least in the 70% range. And then as far as being real food, in the 90% range. When I say 70%, is because I eat everything raw. completely raw. Raw milk, raw cream, raw eggs, raw meat, all of it. Just like people eat the raw fish, sashimi, well, I eat all kinds of animal foods raw. And that's probably 70% of my diet. Then another 20% or so is things my wife makes, which is all real food, all excellent organic stuff. And then I'll eat whatever I want with the other 5%. If I want pizza or something, it's fine. Because what you give your body mostly is what's going to be the health of it, right? The response of your body is going to be based on what you put into it mostly. Now, what does this have to do with the original question? I'm going to bring it back. Food grown properly has much better, not just nutrition, but it's like chi. And I hate just like energy like it's voodoo or something, but it's like that positive energy, that natural life force is there. So, you can eat fast food joints where the meat, let's say you have a burger, and the meat is beyond, it came from a sick animal full of hormones and steroids and antibiotics and everything's in that food, and then they cook it till it's dead as could be, and who knows what fillers they put in there, and that's meat. Versus a happy animal with fresh water, fresh food, out in the sunlight, fresh air, eating live green grass, and that animal's slaughtered, and you have a steak from that animal. Both are red meat in this example. One came from a life force that was happy and positive and lived a good life, basically, and the other one was a miserable life. So the sickness in that food, the sickness in that animal, and I was going to say attitude, but yeah, because if you're miserable, your whole body is full of miserable. So whether the animal's actually thinking or not, if it's uncomfortable and it's sick and it's not treated right and it has no freedom to roam around, it's miserable. And that feeling of being miserable is in the food that is created from when they slaughter that animal. So it's a completely different world. So you want to be healthy and feel good and optimistic and happy. The food that we take in has to have this positive energy. You can be in a room and it can look exactly the same, but it can have chi or not have chi. Now we know that's oxygen, but you can't see oxygen. But if you're in that room without oxygen, you're going to pass out on the floor. You're not going to be able to live very long in there. And so the Chinese would say that was chi. Chi was missing from the air. No oxygen. Okay, there's chi. There's also ions that are affecting us. So a happy, healthy animal, a happy, healthy plant in balance with nature is going to have high negative ions, which also is chi. It's like a bioenergy in our bodies. This is one of the reasons why going barefoot out in the grass, for example, you will literally draw negative ions from the earth. You'll also absorb from the sky, heaven and earth chi, with the person in the middle absorbing that. So if you don't get out in the sunlight, you're going to not have enough chi. One of those things is absolutely vitamin D, right? A lot of people that were getting sick over the last year and a half is because they had a vitamin D deficiency. Because what did they tell us many years ago? And I'm telling you, I didn't live by this. This makes no sense. I try to apply natural laws to all decisions. I don't care what experts, scientists, anything say, to be honest with you. If it doesn't make sense with natural law, then I know it's BS and I know it's going to change. And maybe their motivation is just money. I don't know what their motivation is. But what do I mean by that? Okay, so that's where it's like living properly, having the right energies, like getting out in the sun. If you're told the sun causes skin cancer, you're going to avoid the sun. Now you're not going to have the vitamin D you're supposed to have. You think it's natural to take pills to make vitamin D? I'm not saying you can't do that. You can. But should you have to? The sun's everywhere. Get sun. Oh, but sun can cause skin cancer. No. And I've been saying this for 30, 40 years. I figured this out, and I'm sure it can be proven. Two things, very connected to what's natural. So what's with the sun? Well, we put on all this stuff to protect, right? We block the sun with some cream. So one, you're blocking the sun, you're not getting the vitamin D, you're not getting what you need from it, you're not getting the heaven chi, for example. Not only that, this stuff has chemicals in it, and that gets into your body, gets into your skin. Not only that, your pores have to open and close just like breathing. It kicks out bad chemicals. Have you ever noticed when you're sick or someone else is sick, they have a smell, they have an odor, they smell like they're sick? Because your body it's one of the ways it detoxes. It clears through the pores of the skin. So not only does sunscreen block that, but also the moisturizers. So people put all these moisturizers thinking they have to put moisturizers. You know why they need moisturizers? Because over 70 years ago, about 70 years ago, we were told, we meaning the average person was told, saturated fat is bad for you and creates heart disease. And nothing could be further from the truth. Saturated fat from a healthy animal, meaning the fats in your steaks or well, one of the best ones is grass-fed butter, but grass-fed, again, a healthy animal on the pasture, eating what they're supposed to eat, healthy, happy animal, and you're getting the food from them. So butter is one of those things. They replace with margarine. Heart disease, diabetes, Parkinson's, MS, cancer, all these things went through the roof when they started changing from the traditional foods 100 plus years ago. So now you don't have, it's like running your car without oil. The butter, the saturated fats, lubricate your whole system. All the dryness in the skin is coming from basically fat phobia. You're not getting that. Imagine running your car without the oil. The friction would destroy it. Well, our bodies are very similar. You're not getting what it needs. You're not getting what your body naturally knows how to use for defenses. It moisturizes, and it also works like a sponge to take toxins out of, well, your body, but from what it's, wherever it's getting the toxins from, right? It's like the air we breathe is full of stuff. The water we drink is full of stuff. The food we eat is full of stuff. And this stuff gets stored in the body. If you have enough of this little globules, little molecules of fats in your bloodstream, your body will use it to get rid of those toxins. Otherwise, it's going to get stored in your system all over the place. It can be your brain. It can be your liver. It can be your joints, which will wreak havoc wherever it is. Because these things are usually, it could be cancer causing, or just inflammatory. They damage. So fat is a protective and necessary element. Cholesterol, absolute BS, never was a problem. We need cholesterol, it's protective. And so the fats are lubricating. This is naturally from, so we don't need these creams that will block it. So now let's go back. The sunblock and the creams causing the skin cancer. That's my understanding, that's my theory, and I do believe it's been proven. I just don't have a source to give you. But if somebody was willing and able to do that research, because, sorry, but it's like wearing the masks. Your body gets rid of toxins this way when you breathe out. And you're blocking that and you're breathing it in. So all it's doing is hurting you. And it's not blocking any illness, because clearly, if anybody opens their eyes, it hasn't. It hasn't made any difference whatsoever. So why wear something that's going to harm you? Blocking the skin with the sunblock or the cream, not getting the sun energy, blocking the ability for your skin to push out toxins, makes you sick, can cause cancer. Breathing your own exhaust, can make you sick, can cause pneumonia, bacterial pneumonia, can cause brain damage from not enough oxygen. I mean, these are the kind of things that it's like, it doesn't pass the litmus test of natural laws. Because frankly, let me just use the term, God is the only one who knows the truth. And that can be observed in nature. Whatever your word for that is, the source, the universe, whatever, but nature is the truth. And that's the question. That's the litmus test. Does this make sense? Simple as that. And frankly, with all these illnesses and everything, I keep my rules, and I trust my immune system to be more powerful than anything. And that's one of those things where I say, nothing has proven me wrong yet. No precautions, exposed to it already many times. Knowingly exposed to it many times. When I was pretty young, this is where this thinking came. You know, it's hard to say when exactly this happened, but I remember, I think of like the plague from, Middle Ages. And there were always stories of people who cared for the sick and dying. There are always people who survived that and didn't get sick. And so my theory there was, medicine needs to not study disease. It needs to study health. Why do those people not get sick? But that's not where the money is. And that's where we have to wake up. What's the motivation for the information you think is true? In many, many ways. This goes way back. This is not just the most recent times. So there's a consistency there. Maintain the natural laws, and you should be perfectly healthy. Can we have things wrong? I mean, can you have a genetic defect? Yeah, but those are very rare, actually. Very rare. You don't abuse yourself, you get enough sleep, you get the right kinds of food, you get the right exercise, both fast and slow, meditate so your mind is right, breathe properly so your body's more relaxed, again, your mind is right. These are simple rules. And then all of this, bringing it around. What are your words going to be coming out of your mouth when you feel good? Just like your words can affect, apparently, I haven't done these personally, but I have seen the book, change the molecular shape of water. It's going to affect us the same way. The right words, if somebody says, I love you, there's a good feeling. You see a beautiful flower, it's a good feeling. You say, I can do this, it's a good feeling. You say, I can't do this, it's a bad feeling. You say, I hate you, it's a bad feeling. You call people stupid, it's a bad feeling. It's not that complicated. Another question. Yes, sir. Mr. Antomate.
Yes, sir. My question is, sorry, I just have two questions and I'm trying to decide which one is a better question.
Well, you can ask one and then you can ask the other if we have a time. That's fine.
So my first question, okay, thank you, sir. My first question is, my cousin has stage 4 cancer, and he's been going through chemo for a while, and I think the latest news that I heard is that the chemo is not really effective on him, and it's actually caused more damage to his system, I think, than the cancer itself. So I've been doing some research into veganism and just the effects of transitioning to a vegan diet on some people, and I've come across information that some medical professionals support, which has to deal with people with chronic illness, reversing the illness through transitioning to a vegan diet. So I was just curious to know if that might have any potential, to help him make a recovery. But actually, the last thing that he told me was that he kind of started going to a plant-based diet, but he was losing too much weight. And so, in conjunction with chemotherapy, he needs to, I guess, maintain a certain weight and stuff like that. But just my own personal belief is that I wouldn't go plant-based and do chemo. I'm wondering if going straight plant-based just has the potential of, reversing an illness like that. And then my second question is, I'm curious to know how Bagua coincides with marriage and how it might make you a better husband.
So I'm going to stay consistent. So everything I just said, natural laws. Natural laws will keep you healthy. Natural laws will make you healthy. There's never been any civilization on this planet before the last century that was vegetarian or vegan. Period. This is a modern day thing leading us to ill health. And again, I know people are not going to disagree with that. I'm sorry. I mean, my rules are just natural laws. Whether they were fishermen or hunters, they hunted and they gathered, or they fished and they gathered. Now, you saw he started losing too much weight as soon as he tried to go plant-based. Again, regardless of the argument, we are not designed to absorb the nutrients from plants. It's very difficult. It's much more work for the body. What is it? A cow has four stomachs. They have thousands upon thousands of more enzymes to digest the food that they eat. The animal eats the vegetation. We eat the animal. Can we also eat vegetation? Yes, we're omnivores. It's supplemental. It's for a balanced diet. It's not enough. Stage 4 cancer is very difficult. It's pretty far along, but a couple things come to mind. Years ago, I worked with another acupuncturist that was having remarkable results with Parkinson's for one, and cancer. In fact, locally to him, and I'm not going to name any names or where he's located, locally to him, oncologists, those are cancer doctors, oncologists would send their own family to him. Now, why am I telling you this? Because they knew chemo and radiation kills them. So their own loved ones, see, medicine's very tricky. They get a protocol sent down. Whatever's behind that protocol, people believe it's the way, proven way, safe, effective. I'm going to call BS. It's not. It's just not true. Ulterior motive, I believe so. Cancer patients worth anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million to a hospital with all that treatment that they have to do. So why would oncologists not want their own loved ones to go through the treatment that they have to use on patients or they lose their license? Think about that. I could never be an MD and have to follow the rules like that, knowing that it's not the best way to go. Sometimes you can know too much, but I prefer to have the information. That way I can make better decisions. Second thing that came to mind, there was a person who lived among native people, I don't know, 100 years ago, 150 years ago. He lived among them for 30 years or something. And his account was he never saw heart disease, he never saw cancer in the 30 years he was there. And people lived to be 70, 80, 90, and they were still quite viable, not nursing home material. What does that mean? That means native people lived more in harmony with the earth, lived more the natural principles, naturally. No medicine, no dentists, no doctors. I mean, they had their herbs. Yeah, just the Chinese medicine, 5,000 plus years old. But understanding how the different flavors in nature affect you is both Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine. It's like sour has an effect, bitter has an effect, sweet has an effect, and they figured this stuff out. So this is not harmful. Pharmaceuticals are harmful, and they just hide symptoms. And it's by design, because the goal is not to fix things. If they fix it, yay, they're happy, everything, oh, see, what we did worked. But I say it in spite of. People survive, especially something with so serious terminal cancer, in spite of the treatment. Somehow, it wasn't their time, and they overcame it because it destroys them. And if people look at the statistics, the survival rate after remission, 5 years, very low. Usually it comes back, or they die of liver or kidney problems because the body became so toxic that, they died of something else, which was a side effect, but they don't link that to the cancer. So they see it as a success rate in their statistics, but they don't blame the cancer or the treatment. So the statistics are all skewed. There was some success a Gerson diet had. Gerson, did you come across Gerson?
No, sir.
Okay, but I wouldn't use it. Me personally, if I'm doing all the things I'm doing and I get cancer, I would have to say it's because of exposure to something. But my like I said, I'm about 70% raw. I would go 100%, and I would increase the raw butter that I eat dramatically. I would just I might eat half a pound a day or more to create like a natural chelation, because there's more sponges inside to absorb more poisons to clean me out. In Chinese, the way to look at it, like Chinese medicine, the way to look at cancer is like dammed up, like a dam blocking the river. It's dammed up parts of the body. The blood flow is messed up. So now the toxins sit there and they do damage. And if it's something that's cancer causing, then it will cause cancer locally. The body will make tumors in order to protect itself, right? And the tumor can be benign, meaning it's just toxins, but it doesn't cause cancer. And then it can be malignant, meaning it's growing, and it actually created an evolution in the cells. The cells try to survive based on a very toxic environment. And so, circulation is essential to avoid that problem, because prevention is always the best medicine. But here's an interesting one, and it goes back a little bit to the first question, like the effects of a word. Because what do you tell yourself? There are stories. One I remember was, I think it was a high power attorney in a corporate world, very, very stressed, and had terminal cancer. And they basically said, you have like 6 months to live or something. So she went away to the Far East, and might have been China, might have been Tibet. I don't remember where, but I remember that I had to do with Qigong. And the master there had her doing Qigong and breathing meditation, and basically completely changed her life, like how she was living. Day by day, completely relaxed and positive, and getting out of her head and the busyness and everything. And the cancer went away. terminal cancer, cured itself. And so when she told the master that, she's going to go back to the U.S. And he said, that's beautiful, but you can't go back and do the same work you did. If you do, you go back and live the same life you had before, you're still gonna get sick. It's gonna come back. And she says, oh, I'm fine, I'll be fine. And of course she went back and she went to the same life, and all the craziness and all the stress and all the negativity and anxiety and everything people deal with in this country. And cancer came back. Eventually she died. So what does that tell you? There's not one thing that I said today that isn't consistent with what I've used the 5 elements to explain. Because in the 5 elements, well, I already talked about the food. You need vigorous exercise. You need Qigong type exercise, meaning deep relaxation, movement. Mobility, meaning all the joints have to move so circulation reaches everywhere. And enough relaxation so you absorb nutrients better, you absorb oxygen better. The mind. You see? He taught her meditation. He taught her Qigong. Breathing goes along with it. In fact, Qigong can be translated as breath work because you're moving and you're breathing together in a moving meditation. Sitting meditation to go very, very deep and completely change who you think you are. Realizing you are a spark of the divine and connecting to the Tao, to all that is, completely changes this character you're playing. Because in my example, that woman's character was dying of cancer. She had to become someone else to cure the cancer. And when she went somewhere else and lived differently for months, she became someone else. And then she went back to be the old self, and same problem came back. "90-something% of our healing every day happens when we sleep." And how many people don't sleep enough or don't sleep well? If you don't go deep into deep sleep, just like a deep meditation, if you don't go into deep sleep, your body can't recharge, your brain can't recharge. And so you're going to have more irritability, you're going to have more anxiety, you're going to have more angst, you're going to have more adrenaline in your system, stress hormones, you're going to have a busy mind because you don't flush it properly, you don't dream properly. It's like all the things that promote health. That's why when you say you did research, Mr. Antomite, you're narrowing yourself, right? Normally, you're narrowing yourself. My answer is all-encompassing. The rule's the same. The rules of health don't change. Got to work this. I've said this before, and I'll say it again, here or anywhere. If I got cancer, I'd never do chemo or radiation. If I had a tumor, yeah, I might have it removed by surgery. Just have it taken out. Maybe. Depends on the situation, because one of the problems with that is it can choke off parts of your body. It can cause dysfunction in organs, or it can actually cut circulation to a place. So that may have to be removed because it's physically, mechanically killing you. But chemo, radiation, poison, and burning, heck no. No way. No way, no how. I have that kind of understanding of natural laws that I trust. So people talk faith in God. Yeah, I have that kind of faith. I think that's part of what people need. Fear kills. Fear is choking you off from life. You get that kind of diagnosis, of course, it's very, very difficult not to have fear. But faith in something more than what we think we are. Realizing the higher power gives you the higher power. Look up Gerson, but no, I wouldn't do that. Go look up Steve Jobs. Jobs? No, Jobs. Steve Jobs. Apple. What happened to him? He was vegan. Died of liver cancer. Or pancreatic cancer. He was a fanatical vegan. Skin and bones by the time he died. No. My life, my experience, that's not the way. And I do believe you have been, like most, have been influenced to think meat is bad. It's got to be the right meat from a healthy, happy animal, grass-fed. Completely different. Can someone come back from stage 4 cancer? Yeah, it's happened, but it's very difficult. They have to completely change. They have to follow the rules, so to speak, that I certainly didn't make up. I've just observed them, lived by them, and reaped reward, to be honest. Bagua and marriage. Okay, I mean, I can interpret what you mean, but can you elaborate on why you asked that question? Like, what is your meaning with that question?
Sir, it's just a question that came to me at some point.
But
And
what
I
Bagua
don't know.
and marriage? If Bagua makes you think clearer, more optimistic, you know, Bagua includes meditation. It makes you more true to yourself. So, well, go ahead. Just elaborate if you can, and then I'll say what I think.
Well, to my, it seems to me that a true martial artist, practice encompasses the individual's entire life for the most part. At least in some ways, it interconnects into different areas of life. So I'm wondering how it might interconnect with marriage.
Okay, it is a great question, simply because, and I don't need to spend a lot of time on it, but so relationships are not 50-50. This is a mistake. A healthy relationship is 100-100. You're not a half a person made complete by another person. You need to be complete on your own. Because if you rely on someone else to complete you, what happens when things aren't going so well? You have to be complete. They have to be complete. You have to know yourself. They have to know yourself. This is a healthy relationship. You allow each other to be who you are. You respect each other's likes and dislikes, and you help each other in all areas of life. And when you're happier and healthier, more optimistic, all the things that Bagua and meditation and like all the teachings of Bagua, what it does for the person and as an individual, absolutely is going to bring that same type of energy into a relationship. So marriage or just any relationship, it's going to be a more positive relationship. You're not going to treat people poorly. Some say martial arts begins and ends with respect. So if you respect the other person, they're going to respect you back. Appreciate each other. See, when you're stressed and fearful and worry all the time, all this negative energy is going to damage your relationship. You're not right, then it's not going to be right with you and another. And that's the thing. Meditation classes, like the deeper philosophical aspects, it gets us to hopefully think differently so that we live differently. Makes our life better. Because we think differently. We think differently. We take care of ourselves, the eating, the exercising, the meditation, etc. You're better. So you shouldn't be in pain, for example. You shouldn't be emotional. You should feel more positive. You know, all these things, when you feel good, you make others feel good, right? You roll, it's like you laugh, someone else laughs. You smile, someone else smiles. You cry, someone else feels sad. So this is why, what I want to say is talk is cheap. We can talk a good talk, we can read all the right books, but if it's all up here and you're not actually practicing, then none of it is applied in your life for real. It's all theoretical for you. That's why I like to also say, don't believe a word I say. Follow the teachings and apply it in your life, and then experience it for yourself. Then you'll know if I'm true or not. And certainly from person to person there can be differences, but the natural laws don't change. And so if you learn the natural laws and you apply them and you live by them, you're going to have the experience that, in my opinion and in my experience, is a much better life. Because on a day-by-day basis in the clinic, Chinese medical clinic, I see the other side regularly. I see the problems people have. I see the unwillingness to change. Those who are fully compliant have like miracle changes in their lives, in their health, in their whatever illness they have, and those who are not compliant and don't get well so easily. We make them somewhat better, but if you keep doing what you've always done that made you sick, you're going to get sick again. I can't fix your habits. You know, I can't fix another person's habits. I can't, if you sprain your ankle and I make the pain go away with that, with some needles, and then you feel so good you go run again, it's too soon. You're going to keep hurting the ankle. It's not going to heal. So there has to be the patient doing their part. And as I teach these natural laws, how to eat right, exercise, and they follow it, they get better. So that's why we've been thinking about creating like champion patients, put them on the wall with the testimonial, what their experience was. Because I've had some serious illnesses that reversed. And people need to know that. It's worth the effort. You know, it's like people that are addicted to their Diet Coke and unwilling to give it up. What can I do? I can make them feel better for, you know, maybe a minute or maybe a few weeks, but if it's causing a lot of the heart, a lot of the problems, you got to change that. How bad do you want to be well? You want a better life? You want a better marriage? Work on yourself first. Let's go to meditation.